Alright, so this is my paper slide version of the McDonald's hot coffee case by me, Cameron, and Afroman. Alright, so paper slide number 2. My original opinion before I knew the facts of the case was how could she sue McDonald's if she spilled the coffee on herself? It was her fault, right? Alright, and then paper slide number 3. There are apparently 700 previous reports of injury from the coffee, including reports of third-degree burns, and some cases have paid settlements and some didn't. And yeah, Miss Liebeck, she spilled the coffee on herself. She wasn't driving anything, she just spilled it on herself. And Miss Liebeck, she offered to settle the case for $20,000 to just cover her medical fees, but McDonald's still declined that offer. And they never offered more than $800 during the trial. Well, during the case. So the case went to trial. And then the coffee wasn't just hot, it was dangerously hot, enough to cause third-degree burns. And obviously, the obvious outcome of this was they went to trial and stuff. And the jury had found Miss Liebeck to be partially at fault for her injuries, and that reduced some of the compensation for her injuries. But she still obviously got a lot of money because McDonald's shouldn't have been operating their coffee that hot, enough to cause third-degree burns. All right, so let's see. Yeah, Miss Liebeck, she didn't really think McDonald's was taking her seriously, and even a juror later told the Wall Street Journal that the company wasn't taking any of the injuries seriously. And the 700 injury cases caused by hot coffee seemed relatively rare to the millions of coffee made. And so the coffee was tested by a quality assurance manager, and he said at the temperature at which it was poured into styrofoam cups was not fit for consumption because it would burn the mouth and throat. And yeah, she only wanted her medical expenses paid for. So if McDonald's would have just given her like the $20,000, she would have been done. But she ended up going to trial, and eventually she got millions. And then, all right, so McDonald's side, and they were saying they were required to operate coffee at 100 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's what the franchise had said. That was a manual requirement. And yeah, the coffee spill caused third-degree burns, but even though they knew that, they still didn't do anything about it until it got really serious. And they were actually told that the coffee was unsafe, and the risk had repeatedly been brought to their attention through numerous other claims and suits, but they still had yet to change that. Alright, so this is paper slide number 5, and it's basically about how the fiction and how the media misinterpreted the plaintiff. So, like, lawyers, they have spent like years running disinformation campaigns, and as like anything else, the media bought into it, holding up the McDonald's coffee lawsuit as an example of a supposed epidemic of frivolous lawsuits. And so large corporations, afraid of being sued for making unsafe products, created front groups like Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse to turn public opinion against lawsuits. And that's basically it. Yeah, a lot of people, yeah, they said she should have known, and a lot of lawyers had they had reverse evidence, and a lot of the lawyers were like greedy and stuff. And yeah, the disinformation campaigns, and that was years and years of like that stuff. So like, yeah. All right, so on paper slide number 6 is basically what could have McDonald's have done differently in this situation of the case. Because mind you that they didn't want to give her higher than $800 at first in the lawsuit, well, in the case. But they could have just offered to pay for her damages and with a heartfelt apology, and everything would have been done, and all this wouldn't have been brought up and stuff. But McDonald's didn't even want to do that, so yeah, she ended up getting $600,000, I believe. And yeah, McDonald's began changing like their coffee and stuff, and how hot they had it and the temperature. I was saying, yeah, they could have helped her instead of abandoning her, because I would have. Because obviously abandoning her didn't work at all. And so they could have just talked to her and like got the problem solved, but they chose to ignore her instead. Yeah. Alright, so my final thoughts on the case is that, yeah, McDonald's should have just taken responsibility and paid her for her medical damages. And if they would have taken previous cases seriously, then this wouldn't have happened and them losing all that money, which is probably nothing, but yeah. And yeah, I think that McDonald's should have paid the other lawsuits of victims who got like third-degree burns money too, because those cannot be healed easily. And yeah, basically to wrap it up, this was my paper slide version of the McDonald's hot coffee case by Cameron and Afro Man. Thank you for viewing. And yeah, I recorded this like 30 million times, and I'm not doing it again, so yeah, bye.